Hey, this is NUSensei with another Archery reflection. We just had our club championship, and we've had a few logistical issues, so we've had to postpone to rather late in the year. But our aim was always to get more people to participate, even at the cost of moving the date back. We tried to encourage people to give competition shooting a go, and I think everyone that took part had a great time. It was pretty damn cold though. It was windy, and shooting in winter is pretty miserable. I mean, whose idea was it to reschedule the competition in the middle of winter? As usual, I've made this video to go through some of the things that were going through my head during this competition, and to share some of the experiences that may benefit you. Firstly, the cold weather made a pretty big difference. Now, Melbourne isn't really a cold place. I mean, it's not like Canada. But it can be annoying and uncomfortable. So you can say this about outdoor shooting in general. I mean, things like wind, drizzle, glare. And part of preparation is knowing what to wear. Because it's cold! Personally, I had a singlet, my Easter compression shirt, my polo top, these sleeves on top of that, and my fleece jacket. And it was still a little chilly. You know, you've got to feel like you're bulletproof to know that you've got enough on. But there's also a huge problem with wearing lots of winter clothing. I've done an Archery annoyances video covering the topic of clothing, and one of my fellow archers learnt that the hard way. When you shoot frequently enough, you can recognize the sound that bows normally make. Now, everyone's bow sounds a bit different based on things like brace height and the bow material and these stabilizers and so on. But generally, bows make a dung sound, like dung. In one of the first few ends, I heard this sound coming from one of my fellow archers' bows, and bows don't make the sound. When we went to score, one of her arrows had gone behind the target, and she believed that this arrow had over-penetrated the middle of the target. So it had hit like a goldish area and had gone through the target. But there was no mark on the target. We had marked every spot as per standard, but there was no hole indicating that arrow had gone through. And it was this target wasn't a solid target. There were some areas which were a bit patchy, but the rest of us who were shooting with much more powerful bows in this area were not shooting through. So we were very skeptical that she had shot through the middle of the target and gone through. My theory was that she had actually missed the target and had gone under it. In the following end, I kept hearing this sound. And it was clear that her arrows were flying under the target and were kicking up dirt. 2 or 3 had gone clean under, while the others had embedded themselves in the bottom part of the target, including the wooden frame. I'm not sure if she realized it herself, but when we were getting the arrows, I said, "Look, hey, you're hitting your sleeve." For those who don't know, when the string snags against clothing, it has a drastic effect on the velocity of the arrow, which normally causes the arrow to fall well short of the point of impact. Again, it was a cold day, she had a lot of layers on, but the jacket she had on top was a very puffy windbreaker, and every shot kept hitting that sleeve. This presented a dilemma for her because it was too cold to take the jacket off, but she had nothing to wrap around her sleeve to tighten it. That's really tough. You don't really want to throw away 100 points because of clothing contact. Even after she took the jacket off, her shirt underneath was a little puffy, so I could still hear the occasional string slap on that shirt. It really affects your concentration if you're not confident that your string can clear your own clothing. The lesson to learn from this is to make sure that you have certain clothes which are appropriate for archery. If it's cold and windy, rather than grab random warm clothes, you should have a set of garments that you know you can shoot comfortably in. You don't want clothes that are puffy or billowy. Now, on my end of the tournament, I had probably one of the worst opening ends possible. Now, before the event, I had the flu, and so for the previous 2 weeks, I've been in bed. I had the fever and the sniffles, and then my lungs full of mucus, so that really icky phase of coming out of a flu. And I spent most of my days just sleeping, really, and just trying to get over it. So I hadn't done any training prior to the event. I've actually lost a bit of weight because of my illness, so I wasn't really well conditioned going into the competition. Still, I felt pretty comfortable. I had this mindset of, look, first shot gold. I was pretty confident after my last shoot, so I didn't feel bad about it. Now, first shot, I came to full draw, and the wind blew. I was being quite stubborn. I thought, I can make this shot. And I was trying to hold on to it. But after a really long hold, I was like, forget about it. Let's just let it down. That was a catastrophic decision. Partially because of the high amount of tension, and partially because of my poor conditioning. I felt that I strained something in my shoulder right here. Afterwards, I couldn't maintain that tension line. I couldn't execute shots. I just couldn't pull it back. I had to sacrifice a few deliberately bad shots and a couple of misses because I was just running out the clock. I just couldn't complete shots. And my coach was telling me off. He was like, you have this mental barrier. You've got to pull it through. And I said, no. I physically can't hold the bow. And I had done something to my shoulder. It felt like the muscle had peaked. So coming into draw, it would just shake. And I did not lose it. I couldn't hold it. It was agonizing to realize that I had effectively knocked myself out on the first shot of the first end. But there's always this denial that, maybe you haven't injured yourself and you can keep on going. The next few ends was like flying a plane and then losing control surface. And you're trying to figure out how to steer the rest of the plane, what you have. And that's what I was doing. I was trying to figure out what my physical limitations were. Despite having a bit of an ache in my shoulder, I could still engage the tension line correctly. So I could still do this. So I could still use my shoulder muscles, my back muscles, come through and execute good shots. But only for the first 2 shots. Then the weakness would kick in and I would start shaking and then I couldn't power the shot through. That was the collapse I was experiencing with my shoulder. So I had to pace it out, but really, I needed really, really long breaks between each end. It got to the point where when someone lost an arrow, I would say, alright, we've got to look for it, guys, we've got to find this arrow. I mean, it's partly sportsmanship, but you want everyone to have all their arrows, otherwise they'll miss out. But I was trying to kind of buy time for myself to recover because I was in so much, not pain, but I was so fatigued from this arm strain, this shoulder strain, that I couldn't shoot 6 consecutive good shots. I could do 2 or 3. That was my barrier. I had this 2 or 3 shot barrier, and the remaining shots were just horrible. In my mind, it was like a butchery of archery form, but I did what I had to do. I had to send arrows downrange, and that became my only focus. Because I was fixated on overcoming this physical challenge, I wasn't actually paying attention to my score, and I didn't realize that my scoring had developed a pattern. I was grouping in golds. Despite it being an outdoor shoot and despite this shoulder strain, I ended up scoring 2 points below my personal best. Yeah, I was like adding the score up, and I was like, what? Looking back, I started to see what had happened. You reach a point in your development where you can shoot bad shots, but your alignment and your execution are enough to keep the arrow on target. Compared to the focused, deliberate shooting that I was doing in my last competition, I felt this time I had little control over my form. My anchor was off, I was unstable in the bow arm, my follow through was terrible. What I didn't realize was what I was continuing to do right. My shot rhythm was very good. My releases were good. There was a lot of struggling on this front end, but on this end, I was replicating the same process over and over again. And even on the bad shots, I'll still maintain the same: line it up, pull it back, release. And that was maybe because I was in that limitation. I couldn't actually hold the shot. I had to go through with it and complete the shot. And that smoothness, that commitment to the shot, probably helped me a lot more than I thought. I realized that as long as I could physically complete the shot process, it would hit the middle. It was a very vindicating revelation. The fact that I was so focused on this one action of bring it up, pull the elbow back, lock it in, finish the shot, it allowed me to maintain a respectable level of consistency. Not great, but respectable. I completed the round. I didn't shoot any worse than I had done previously, and I still came out on top of my division. So that's a winning feeling. But I'm definitely feeling this. To conclude, if you're preparing for a competition, it pays to be prepared mentally and physically. It is a long event and it can get to you if you're not ready. This is NUSensei. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.